Ark was a careless boy with no real life, doing nothing but playing his favorite game, until one day he fell asleep while playing and woke up wearing a luxurious armor next to a tree, surrounded by a beautiful view, so he got confused and asked, "Where am I?" He looked at his hands and body and got shocked, screaming because he didn't understand what brought him here or why he was dressed like that. Then he calmed himself down and remembered that the equipment he was wearing belonged to his game character, so he realized he had moved into the game world. He got even more surprised that his body moved lightly despite the heavy armor he was wearing, so he decided to try his sword, and found that all the trees in front of him were cut down, which made him very excited because he didn't know the sword skill was that strong. Then he remembered that the game had magic, so he tried it and found himself launching a fireball that burned the tree in front of him, which made him even more excited. He discovered he was very hungry, so he had to look for a city to find food. But the bigger problem was that he had no money, so he also had to find a way to earn some. He used the gate skill to move to the nearest city, but suddenly found himself teleported 5 meters forward and falling off a cliff because the gate skill moved him only to a place he had previously visited and had a mental image of. Then he remembered another skill called dimensional leap, which allowed him to jump short distances repeatedly, so he used it to fly toward the city, feeling even more thrilled and enjoying what was happening. Near a river, he took off his helmet and looked at his reflection in the water, only to be shocked that he was a skeleton. He got very anxious because if he entered the city like that, there would be panic, and people would call him a monster and try to chase him away. So he decided with great determination to live without drawing attention and never remove his helmet again. He continued walking until he entered the fortress town of Louverdy and walked among the people, finding everything normal, and a fruit seller called to him saying, "You look like a splendid knight. Come here and I'll give you a discount." He apologized to her because he had no money at all, so she was surprised how a knight in such fine armor could have no money. He kept walking and suddenly smelled an amazing scent of grilled meat that completely attracted him, and he decided to find a way to make money quickly so he could eat. He entered a dark alley and heard a man arguing with a girl about money she had given him to investigate something. And the girl was angry because he didn't bring her the information she wanted, so she left him and walked away. Ark stopped to listen and discovered that the girl was an elf, and elves were half human and half spirit. He saw her long ears as she passed by him, which made him excited, so he followed her, but she disappeared. Ark then found himself in front of the mercenary guild by coincidence, so he said he would go inside to see if there were missions he could do for money. As soon as he entered, all the mercenaries were surprised by his fancy armor and strong gear, wondering what brought such a noble knight to a place like that. He went straight to the receptionist and asked if he needed to register as a mercenary to take missions, and the receptionist replied with surprise, "Yes, but are you joking? From your appearance, you're clearly a great knight from a noble place. Why would you want to be a mercenary?" Ark realized he had to make his words fit his appearance, so he acted like a knight and said, "I have my reasons and need to register. Don't ask more." The act worked, and the receptionist said he didn't mind, but there was a registration test he had to pass. Kill a demonic beast, bandits, or even a normal monster and bring its body. Ark got very excited by the idea and headed to the door, and one of the mercenaries asked the receptionist if that great knight would be okay. The receptionist replied, "Leave him be. He surely has reasons and is forced to do this, maybe for a sick child or something." So they all wished him luck, and Ark noticed strange rumors about him starting to spread. Ark went to the forest and killed some wild boars, thinking only about the grilled meat he saw in the town market. Then he heard something approaching and hoped it was a demonic beast, and indeed it was an orc, a half-human, half-wild boar creature. Ark got excited and charged at the orc quickly, splitting it in half with a single strike. He gathered the bodies in a huge bag and started walking back toward the guild. Suddenly, he saw some bandits killing knights who looked like bodyguards of an important person, and he noticed 2 girls who seemed important with their maid, terrified of the bandits as the maid tried to protect the other girl. Ark stood still, thinking whether to kill them or not, hesitating because they were humans, not monsters, which made it feel like player versus player. He got nervous and confused, then decided to move and cut their leader in half, terrifying the rest of the bandits who realized how dangerous he was. He unleashed a shockwave/attack, and the energy chased them until it cut them all down. After that, he checked on the 2 girls, and the maid thanked him for saving them, telling him her name was Rita, servant of the Louverdy family, and the other girl was Lauren from the same family. Ark got nervous and humbly said he did nothing worth thanking for. Rita asked if he was a knight, serving some lord, and Ark got startled because his game character was a knight, seeking to become a great one, but cursed by an evil spell and searching for a way to break it. He changed the subject and said, "We'll talk about that later," then went to clean the area, burning all the bodies with fire magic because he felt guilty leaving them like that, and he found some good money and useful items among them, so he took them. After finishing, Rita asked him to escort them along the same road, and he did. On the way, Rita thanked him again for what he did, and with dignity, he told her it was nothing worth thanking for. They asked his name, and he politely refused to tell. At sunset, he returned to the guild, and the receptionist was astonished that instead of bringing one of the 3 types types he mentioned, Ark brought all of them and in record time. The other mercenaries were impressed and invited him for a drink, but he refused this time because he was too hungry and craving grilled meat. The receptionist took out a demonic stone from the bags Ark brought and told him not to forget to keep them next time because they were used to craft magic weapons, then handed him his mercenary card and pointed to the mission board. After understanding everything, Ark immediately went to the inn where he would sleep and ordered a big feast to his room because no one could see him eating since he was a skeleton. He enjoyed the food very much and got excited for another day full of achievements, wishing to meet the fantasy races he hadn't seen yet. The next day, Ark went on his first mission for the guild, which was guarding someone from a very simple village with a kind old guard at its gate, who directed him to Siona House. And Ark walked toward the house thinking that he chose a mission to guard someone going to collect medicinal herbs because it would be simple, easy, and not draw attention to him. And he felt the place was beautiful and peaceful when he saw the happy people and the children playing safely. He arrived at the house where two sisters were sitting together eating, and when the door knocked, Maruka opened it and found Ark in front of her, very tall and wearing armor, so she got scared and her eyes teared up. He asked her about Maruka since she was the one who requested him for the mission, and she replied, "Yes, it me," very happy that someone accepted her request and would go with her to gather medicinal herbs. She invited him inside and offered him tea first, then asked nervously if it was normal for a great person like him to accept her request, and he kindly replied, "Yes, don't worry, I'm interested in gathering herbs too." Suddenly she asked him to move immediately, and her expression showed that she was a bit nervous. So Ark agreed, and she got excited and went to prepare. After they started walking through the forest, with Maruka feeling very happy, Ark asked her if there was a specific reason making her this hurried, and said he read in her request that wild fang boars had started appearing in the area, and that why she needed protection. But her rush was strange. She replied that her mother would return soon, and if she found out what she was doing, she would object. He asked her why, and she told him her father died last year, and her mother raised them alone, and her father's job was gathering medicinal herbs, so she wanted to collect them like him to help her mother a bit. And Ark admired her a lot because she cared about her mother even though she was still a child. On their way, Maruka found a plant called kokura, which was effective for wounds, scratches, and skin diseases, and could also repel insects when burned. Ark praised her and told her she was very knowledgeable, so Maruka laughed and said she learned those things from her father. Then she pointed at another place and ran toward it. But Ark felt something behind the trees and quickly stopped her. He approached the tree slowly and found a small green wolf with many tails, and Ark noticed it had a wound on its paw. The wolf bit him, but Ark stayed still and used a healing spell on it, and Maruka was amazed that Ark could use magic. The wolf ran happily around Ark, and Ark told it could go wherever it wanted, but Maruka said it looked like it wanted to stay with him. The wolf confirmed what she said, and Maruka told Ark to give it a name. So Ark thought for a bit and named it Punta. Meanwhile, in the village, there was a strange tension because a hunter had returned, looking very scared. Someone asked him, "All this just because you met a fang boar?" He replied, "No, it wasn't just a boar. It was a monster unlike anything I've seen in my entire career as a hunter." The Siona Maruka mother entered, and the village guard asked her if she had asked Maruka to take a mission. She replied, "No, Maruka takes care of the house." The guard said, "I think a large demonic beast appeared in the forest, and I saw Maruka leaving the village a while ago." Siona was shocked, and the guard reassured her that Maruka left with a great night. At the same time, Maruka and Ark had reached the tree where she wanted to pick the herb. She ran down the slope recklessly because she was excited, and suddenly Ponta became angry because it sensed a monster behind the tree. A huge lizard appeared, extending its tongue to eat a flying bird. Ponta was scared, and Ark realized this was the monster that had injured him earlier. The creature moved toward Maruka and struck with its claws, but when it lifted its hand, she was gone because Ark had used Dimensional Leap to grab her quickly. Suddenly, the monster released poisonous smoke toward him, so Ark disappeared using Dimensional Leap and remembered that this monster was hard for mid-level players. He quickly blocked its attacks while carrying Maruka, and when the monster extended its tongue again, Ark used Dimensional Leap to dodge it. Maruka crouched and hid behind Ark, and suddenly the monster shot beams from its eyes, which Ark blocked with his shield. The monster got angry and slashed with its claws again, releasing poisonous smoke once more, but Ark blocked them and saw an opening, using Judgment skill and striking it down with thunder, splitting it in half. Ark got very excited for killing another demonic beast, and found a strange bracelet on its leg that disappeared suddenly. Maruka was amazed, and told him the people in the village would surely be surprised, but Ark got nervous, and asked her not to mention that he killed the monster. She was confused, but Ark pleaded, and Maruka respected his wish out of loyalty. Suddenly, a fang boar appeared, the same kind Maruka had originally feared, so Ark decided to make it a gift for the village, and killed it. Everyone in the village was shocked, and Ark asked them to tan the monster hide and keep the tusks and magic stone as his reward. He told them to give the hide to Maruka and share the meat with all the villagers. Everyone was happy, but Siona interrupted, worried about Maruka, and ran to hug her in fear, crying. Maruka also cried and apologized. Siona asked her why she went to the forest, saying, "Didn't I tell you not to leave the village?" Maruka pointed at the herbs she collected, and Ark interrupted, apologizing to Siona for taking Maruka without her permission. She told him not to worry, as long as she was safe. and he asked her not to scold Maruka because she loved her very much. Siona hugged her daughter and thanked him for taking care of Maruka. Then the village guard came in and asked Ark if anything dangerous had happened in the forest, or if a demonic monster had appeared. Ark replied nervously, "No, nothing happened, just a few trivial things." The hunter who had seen the monster well said, "So you didn't meet the thing I saw?" Ark looked at Maruka and said, "We didn't see anything, right?" And she replied, "Yes," keeping the secret as he asked. At sunset, Maruka thanked him for his help, and he thanked her too for teaching him a lot. Hirina came up to Ark and placed some flowers she made herself on his head. He thanked her and said it was the best gift. Before he left, Maruka asked if they would meet again, and he replied, "Of course." That night, a group of soldiers was fighting a lizard identical to the one Ark had killed alone, and after many of them died, they finally managed to defeat it. It had the same bracelet on its leg, which disappeared. The captain of the soldiers and his assistant came to see what happened. The assistant said, "This time we have 38 casualties, 15 dead and the rest injured." They reached the monster that Ark had killed and were shocked, wondering who could have defeated it with a single blow. At the same time, Ark sat in the inn and said to Ponta, "We succeeded again today, and I still don't plan to change my idea of hunting demonic beasts without drawing attention." The next day, Ark was inside a cave chasing a group of bandits, and they were very scared of him and calling him a monster, while he walked after them quickly, laughing an evil laugh along with Ponta. They all fell in front of him, so he finished them off, then noticed a corner with a strange curtain. So he went to see what was behind it and was shocked to find a huge treasure. He assumed they must have done something bad to get all that money, then looked beside him and saw empty cages with plates that once had food in them. And since there was nothing else he could do, he decided to take the treasure and leave. At the same time, in the mansion of Governor Triton du Dintois, he was listening to his assistant Celsica, who told him that the assassination attempt on Lauren had failed. Triton got angry and asked, "How could you all fail to kill one little girl? I heard you hired a team of professional assassins." Celsica replied, "It seems they killed all the guards, but a passing mercenary appeared and took them all down." Triton got even angrier that a single mercenary did that. He asked, "What about the demonic beast we got from the Eastern Empire and released in Louverty?" Celsica replied, "Our Eastern spy said the two beasts couldn't cooperate and both were destroyed." Triton was surprised and said, "Even if they didn't work together, how did both die?" Celsica asked, "Then why does King Decaris want to do this to the Louverty family?" Triton replied, "No one knows. Maybe it was an order from the East that must be carried out because they protect him." And he added, "The northern border region is now under Decaris control so the East can focus on fighting the West without worry." Celsica said, "That right? Right now, Louverty is under King's sect banner who supports the West, so we can't openly declare that we've joined Decaris." Triton replied, "Yes, you're right. That would make sect keep an eye on us." And he said angrily, "More importantly, secure the cargo quickly so we can ship it soon. And don't let Queen Yuriana find out about this, no matter what." Then he told Celsica, "It's been a while since I saw my foolish son." Celsica replied, "Odolin is helping with the cargo fortification." Triton snapped, "That idiot will only get in their way anyway." "I've heard enough. Get out of here." Meanwhile, the elf that Ark had seen earlier walking through a forest was thinking angrily that she wanted to become stronger than anyone to save the other elves from human oppression. Even though there was a truce and treaty between humans and elves, humans still attacked and harassed them. Suddenly, she sensed someone and hid behind a tree, readying herself. Ark came out of the cave, so she drew her sword and rushed at him fast. Ark threw the money on the ground and drew his sword to block her rapid strikes, and when she saw no use since he was stronger, she shouted, "Return the children you kidnapped." He was shocked and asked what she was talking about. She thought he was pretending and didn't believe him, so he asked logically, "Do I look like a bandit dressed like this?" She hesitated and said, "How dare you help bandits while being a knight? You're mistaken." Suddenly, Ponta appeared and she stepped back, asking,
"Why is a spirit beast with a bandit like you?"
Ark was confused, not understanding what she meant, so she said, "That is a spirit known as the cotton-tail fox. Spirit beasts are extremely cautious. Even elves can barely deal with them. How can a human like you?" Ark petted Ponta and said I helped him when he was injured, and he got attached to me and has been with me ever since. The elf calmed down and said, "You seem like someone who's not lying. I'm sorry for attacking you suddenly." He replied, "Good thing you understood, but I came here to eliminate the bandits as part of my mission," she said, "and I heard some bandits use this place as a base and hunt elves." Ark remembered the cages he saw and realized elves had been trapped in them. The elf started walking toward the cave, and he told her, "Sorry, but there were no elves inside." She replied, "Then I was too late." He asked, "What do they even do with elves?" She replied, "They sell them as slaves for high prices." "Don't tell me you didn't know," he said, "but I really didn't know." She looked more confused and started walking away, but he stopped her and said, "I can help you." She refused his offer because she didn't believe a human could truly help her. The next day, Ark decided to go to the elves' forest. Suddenly, Poon sensed something strange, and then Ark heard the sound of someone chasing a girl. Indeed, some elf hunters were chasing a young elf, one of them grabbing her by the hair and saying to Odolin, "We caught another one, and there are 3 in the cage." Odolin looked at the girl and saw rebellion in her eyes, so he drew his sword and cut her leg. Ark was behind the trees watching what was happening, remembering the girl who told him not to interfere with elf affairs. But he felt he couldn't just stand there and do nothing. Suddenly, that same girl appeared, jumping on the hunters and cutting them down. She looked angrily at Odalin and said, I found you, return those children. One of Odalin's men shouted, that the dark elf, a rare product, she'll sell for a fortune, and ordered the rest to attack her all at once. She cut one man's arm without hesitation, and in a flash, she jumped at several others, killing them. And someone screamed, she an elf warrior, ah. Odalin was terrified by her gaze, so he held his sword and threatened her with the captured elves. The warrior stopped crying, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, she heard Ark's voice saying, I'll break my promise this time and help you. And he used Dimensional Leap, appearing behind Odalin and punching him so hard, he flew into a tree. The warrior regained her courage, drew her sword again, and charged at the rest of the hunters, killing them. At the end, the warrior went to free the imprisoned girls and said, I need the keys. Ark approached and said, I'll help, then crushed the lock with his fist, breaking the chain. The girls got scared of him because of his huge size, so the warrior pushed him aside and reassured them. She looked at their necks and found anti-magic collars, realizing why they couldn't defend themselves. She got very upset because there was no known way to remove those collars, even though elves specialized in magic. Ark stepped closer and said, I'll try. She replied, you can't. He shocked her by using the curse removal skill, and the collars came off easily. He also used healing magic on the girl's injured leg where Odalin had cut her. The girl relaxed and thanked him, and the warrior stood still in disbelief that he could use magic and remove curses, realizing he wasn't just a normal knight. The girls started playing around him once they felt he was kind. A bird landed near the warrior, and she sent it to the village so someone could come and take the girls to safety. Ark was surprised and asked, were you talking to the bird? She replied, that a whisper bird, a type of spirit beast that remembers words and delivers them elsewhere. The special thing is that humans can't tame spirit beasts, so this is how elves communicate among themselves. The people from the village soon arrived to take the girls, and Ark said goodbye to them. They were sad to see him go, so he said dramatically, don't worry, I'll come quickly to defeat any evil that appears, and they thanked him and left. Then the warrior spoke with Ark, wanting to know exactly who he was. She said, I heard humans are dangerous, but you're different, and you used teleportation magic, said to be of a legendary class. He replied, I'm just an ordinary person. My name Ark, a wandering mercenary. And he pointed to the wolf to introduce him. She replied, I'm Ariane, an elf warrior as you've heard, and thank you for what you did today. Suddenly, the whisper bird returned, and Ark was startled when he heard it speak. It informed Ariane that it had found the hunter's headquarters in Dinto town, and that she must go quickly. Ariane looked at Ark and asked, Ariane, you a mercenary? He said yes, and she replied, good, then I'll hire you to come with me on this mission. He asked her, won't your friends object if you hire me? She replied, no, you're right. They won't be happy about something like this. Even I wouldn't normally trust a human. But you don't hold any hatred toward elves, you saved the children, and the spirit beast acknowledged you. All those are reasons for me to trust you, so please. He said, I understand and accept your request. He used teleportation magic and took her to the river where he first saw his reflection because the town of Dinto was on the other side and they didn't teleport directly into the town since appearing suddenly would cause panic. Ariane was surprised that he used teleportation so easily without saying an incantation. Ark asked her, will I be useful to you? And she replied, of course, you're the best person to help me save my kin. They entered the town and stood in one of the alleys waiting for Donka, her fellow warrior. When he arrived, Ark got nervous because of his sharp gaze. Donka asked Ariane, who that with you? She replied, this is Ark, the mercenary who helped me in my mission. Let go somewhere else so we don't draw attention, and I'll tell you everything. They went to a restaurant, but Ark didn't eat with them because he was afraid to remove his helmet and be questioned. Suddenly, Donka asked Ariane about Ark again. So she repeated the same story and told him she hired him to help in their next mission, and that he could use teleportation magic. Donka was surprised, and when Panta appeared, he was even more amazed, and said to Ariane, he seems useful, just like you said. Ariane asked Donka if he found the enemy base, and he replied, yes, it near the red light district, and the captives are there. They decided to move at midnight so the streets would be empty. Ark told them, since we still have time, I have something to do and will return in an hour. After he left, Donka said to Ariane, it's strange that you'd rely on a stranger. She replied, if he hadn't helped me in that battle, they would have captured me. He asked, surprised, did you underestimate your enemy or rush in? She replied, I don't deserve to be called a warrior at all. If my older sister Ivan were in my place, she would have handled it better. He said angrily, what the point of comparing yourself to your sister? You're strong enough for your young age. If you gain more experience, you'll easily stand beside her. Then he asked, can we really trust that man you brought with you? She replied confidently, yes. Meanwhile, Ark was walking happily after selling the bandits' loot for a large sum of money, and then went to get food because Donka had made him curious about the food in this city. At the same time, in the elves' hunter's base, the captured elf girls were crying, and 3 hunters stood before them saying they would ship them out tomorrow morning. One of the girls ran to the bars, gripping them angrily, shouting, "Our kin will come and kill you for sure." They all laughed mockingly, and one of them walked up to grab her by the hair. At midnight, the group gathered in the red light district, and someone masked was watching them from the rooftop. They looked from afar and saw 3 guards at the entrance. Danka said, "Sneaking in will be difficult." Ariane replied, "If anyone gets in our way, we'll kill them." Then asked Ark, "Can you teleport us to that upper window using your skill?" He said, "Yes, no problem," she replied. "Then let change spots so no one notices the light from your magic," he said. "Don't worry, hold on to me, and use dimensional movement instead of instant teleportation to avoid light." They were surprised he could use that too, and Danka admitted he was impressive. They all entered through the window and moved silently so no one would hear them, but the surprise came when they passed by a door and saw 2 hunters with their throats cut. From the look of the blood, they could tell it happened just moments ago. Danka said, "It seems there are other intruders besides us," and suggested they split up to find the imprisoned elves faster. Ark used dimensional movement so he wouldn't make any sound, found a locked door, looked through the keyhole to memorize the view, then teleported inside. He found more dead hunters, and suddenly knives were thrown at him, but they didn't affect him because of his metal armor. A girl appeared before him, the same one who had been watching them from the rooftop, and attacked him. He blocked all her strikes skillfully and quickly. When she backed off, he said in surprise, "Ninja!" She was shocked he even knew that word, and she had ears and a tail, which made Ark even more curious. Font appeared, so she apologized and said, "Since you're with a spirit beast, that means your intentions are good," and she sheathed her weapon. She asked, "Is your goal to rescue the elves?" He said, "Yes," and asked her the same. She replied, "No, I came here looking for something, but I didn't find it," then threw him a scroll and said, "The elves are imprisoned below in the basement." She tossed a cherry to Ponta, who loved it, and before she left, she said, "As an apology for attacking you, there are 2 more elves held in the Governor Castle," then disappeared quickly before he could ask her name. He looked at the scroll in his hand curiously, opened it to see what was inside, and found it was contracts of buying and selling elves, with the name of Governor Dinto written on them. He showed it to Ariane and Danka, and they were shocked, asking how he got that information and the scrolls. Ark realized things would get complicated if he told them about the ninja, so he said, "I caught a bandit and interrogated him." Then he asked, "What do you plan to do now?" Ariane replied, "We'll finish what we came here to do and head to the castle quickly." Suddenly, 3 hunters burst into the room and called for the others, shouting, "We found intruders!" Ariane ignited her sword with fire magic and burned all 3 of them. They reached the basement, and the imprisoned girls were overjoyed. Ariane asked Ark to free them, so he grabbed the bars and widened them, letting the girls out as they cried. Ariane reassured them that they were safe. Ark then used teleportation magic and brought them back to the elves' village. He noticed anti-mana collars around their necks too, so he used curse removal to take them off. Danka was shocked, just like Ariane had been when he saw Ark could remove curses so easily. They then split up Danka to escort the girls safely into the village, while Ark and Ariane headed to the castle to rescue the remaining captives. Ark approached the castle using dimensional movement, and Ariane told him to move closer to the top of the castle since Triton would likely be there. As soon as Ark landed, they saw 2 guards standing nearby, so he struck the massive bell above them with a wyvern slash, making it crash down and create a loud noise and dust. Ark and Ariane slipped quickly inside the castle, and when guards started chasing, Ark pretended to be one of the decorative armors while Ariane stood behind him, and the guards passed without noticing. Ark broke into Triton room, smashing the wall, and Ariane finished him off in anger. Odolin was in the same room and screamed when he saw Ark, fainting from sheer terror. Some guards arrived, and Ariane ignited her sword with flame magic, burning them all. Ark discovered a hidden chamber in Triton room filled with gold ingots, and Ariane walked in to find him excitedly collecting them, startling her. He quickly convinced her that if they took Triton money, he wouldn't be able to rebuild his criminal organization, and Ariane was impressed by his clever reasoning and agreed. They moved to leave the area, but strange explosions started happening all around. Ark asked Ariane if she had set a fire, and she replied no, saying no one else had entered except them and Danka, who was escaping with their friends. Ark used instant teleportation to get them both out before the place collapsed. He remembered the ninja he met before and suspected she caused the explosions. He told Ariane, "That means my mission is done," and she replied yes, thanking him for his help. She asked what he planned to do next, and he said he hadn't decided yet. She then invited him to come with her to the elves' village and help rescue more elves in other places. Ark got excited at the idea of visiting the elves' village, but composed himself and asked, "Is someone like me even allowed to enter an elf village?" Ariane replied, "We have to meet our elder and get permission. I'll introduce you to one of the elders I trust deeply." Ark paused for a moment and said, "I can't remove the armor I'm wearing." Ariane thought for a bit and said, "You'll at least need to take off your helmet so they can see your face. Why can't you remove it?" Ark replied, "Seriously, if I take off this helmet, you'll raise your sword against me," she asked. "Will you show me your face if I promise I won't draw my sword?" Ark felt he could trust her, so he quickly removed his helmet. Ariane was shocked and asked, "What is this?" He answered, "Even I don't know when I woke up. I found myself in this body, lying on the ground. I think it's some kind of curse," and thought to himself, "I definitely can't tell her I came from another world and became my my in-game character even if I did, she wouldn't understand.
Ariane looked at him curiously and said, if you were a zombie, you'd be evil by now. And if you were dead, you couldn't use healing magic or curse purification. And no spirit beast would stay with you. Gently, she added, you lent us your strength and helped save our friends, so we'll never reveal your secret. And if your appearance is because of a curse, Exambo our elder can help with his wisdom. Ark replied, I'm grateful. Nothing would make me happier than to lift this curse from my body. They agreed to continue their journey together. The next day, in the royal capital of the kingdom of Roden Olaf, King Carlin met with his first prince, Sect, and asked, did you identify the attackers? Sect replied, not yet, but there are rumors that the elves were responsible. The second prince, Dakaris, became angry and asked the king, Sect, why would you say that? Sect answered, Marquis Dinto violated the treaty and hunted elves, selling them to the Eastern Empire. Princess Uriana asked in surprise, the Marquis did that? Sect in the arm. Dakaris replied, those are baseless rumors. Do you have proof? Sect responded, are you taking the Marquis' side or what? Dakaris slammed his fist on the table and said, no matter what, we can't insult a noble of our kingdom over mere rumors. The king silenced them and spoke to Sect, as Dakaris said, don't spread rumors that defame the Marquis without evidence, but since it's a rumor, we can't ignore it either. He ordered an investigation team to be sent to Dinto immediately. Then he asked Princess Uriana for her opinion, and she replied, I've heard these rumors too, and if they're true, it means we not only violated the treaty with the elves, but might also spark conflict with other nations. We must investigate quickly and hold talks with the elves, because if they cut trade with Limbolt in retaliation, we'll face pressure from other countries. The king thought for a moment and said, we'll definitely face a shortage of magical tools. But if they also stop sending fertility stones, it will cause a harsh backlash from the nobles. He then ordered Uriana to travel to Limbolt and negotiate with the elves to open communication. Dakaris looked displeased, but remained silent. Meanwhile, Ark and Ariana were walking through the forest, and Ark said he would scout ahead. He used dimensional movement, but accidentally appeared above a short cliff and fell. He found a river nearby, filled his flask with water, and caught some fish. At night, they made a campfire by the river and rested. They received news from Danka via the Whisper Bird saying he was almost at Lalatuya with the rescued children. Ark was happy about the news, then asked Ariane, how long until we reach Lalatuya? She replied, maybe 2 more nights. When he heard her stomach growl, he realized she was hungry, left to catch something and returned to grill and share it. The next day, in King Carlin Palace, Princess Uriana stood on the balcony, and her maid Verna called out, saying the tea was ready. Uriana entered, took the cup, and stared at it sadly. Verna asked, is something worrying you? Uriana replied, there's no doubt my brother Dakaris is involved in the elf trade, and my brother's Sect will never let it go. Verna agreed, you're right, and if Dakaris is guilty, Sect will surely inherit the throne. Uriana frowned and said, don't say such reckless things. She continued, what I should do now is my duty to go to Limbolt and extinguish the flame of war. Verna smiled and said, you must be excited to meet your elder sister who married in Limbolt long ago. Uriana looked up at the sky and said, I wonder if Siriana is doing well. At the same time, Ark and Ariane arrived at Lalatuya, and Ark got extremely excited the moment he saw the gate that led to the elves' village. Ariane ordered the guards to open the gate and told Ark to wait outside while she got permission from the elders for him to enter. Ark sat waiting, and out of boredom, he started training and playing with Ponta until the sun began to set. Finally, Ariane came out and told him she had received permission. Ark stood up eagerly and entered with her, amazed by the strange design of the elves' houses. He saw a massive tree at the end of the path, and Ariane told him that the elder home was by that tree. When they arrived, the village elder welcomed Ark and said, I am Dylan, the village chief. Thank you for taking care of my daughter during the journey. His wife Glennis and Ariane's mother was beside him. Ark told them it was an honor to meet them and introduced himself. A moment later, he realized that the chief and his wife were Ariane's parents and was completely shocked. Then Glennis said, I'm 170 years old, and Ariane got annoyed because she was lying, as her real age was 245. Ark was amazed to learn how long elves actually lived. Dylan then said, I heard what happened with my daughter and how you helped her rescue our kin, and I truly thank you for protecting her. But the plan was never to attack the governor castle. Ariane replied angrily, but they were the ones who ignored our treaty first. Ark interrupted and said to Dylan, allow me to explain the details myself. Later that night, after Dylan heard the full story, he said, I understand, but we must report this to the Central High Council of Elders, and looked at the sales contracts Ark had brought, saying they had to investigate those as well. They later sat down for dinner, and Ark looked at the plate, unsure of what to do. Dylan said, we already heard about your body and the curse issue, so don't worry. Ark removed his helmet and began eating with them. The next morning, Ark woke up and found only Glennis at home. He asked about Ariane and Dylan, and she said they had left early in the morning. Meanwhile, Dylan and Ariane arrived at the teleportation circle to travel to the town of Maple, where the Council of Elders was held. When they entered the council, the High Elder Brian said to Dylan, I assume you've come to report the results of the rescue operation. Dylan told him everything, and the others replied, indeed, the attack on the Governor Castle was reckless, but he broke the 400-year treaty first. It seems he'll cause a great war. Did they forget their lands fell apart the last time they waged war against us? One elder suggested sending a message to the kingdom of Rodent to explain the situation, but Elder Fangus replied, "No, we don't need to waste our effort explaining anything. We will not lower ourselves before them." Brian said, "That true. They broke the treaty first, but attacking the Governor Castle was excessive. If the matter becomes public, we'll be forced into war. While rescuing our kin, we must carefully monitor Rodent movements." Meanwhile, Glennis took Ark on a tour around the elves' village. On their way, they met the girls whom O'Dallon had imprisoned and Ark had rescued. They greeted him happily, thrilled to see him again. Glennis noticed how much the children liked him and felt more at ease. After the girls left, she asked him, "What do you say we have a spar?" Ark was surprised and followed her into the forest. She assured him that she was the one who trained Ariane in swordsmanship, so she wouldn't be a weak opponent like he might think. She added, "Elves have great physical strength, so when we assess someone, we test their combat skill. As a mother, I need to know if I can rely on you to protect my daughter." Ark said, "Understood." Glennis moved quickly and struck him, knocking him off balance. In an instant, she was behind him, delivering another blow that sent him to the ground, placing her sword near his face and saying, "Your eyes are good, but your reaction isn't." Ark got fired up, wanting to improve his sword skills, stood up, and asked her to teach him. The spar continued, but Ark couldn't keep up with her speed or precision. At the same time, Ariane and Dylan left the council. Ariane apologized sadly to her father for her recklessness, but he said, "What you did was to save our kin. There was no other choice. Continue your investigation and officially ask Ark for his assistance." Then he added, "It's late now, but since we're in Maple, I want to see your sister Evine Arian." Asked in surprise, "Do you need something from her?" Dylan replied, "Ah, right. I forgot to tell you. Evine is getting married next year." Arian was shocked since her sister had always refused the idea of marriage, spending her life obsessed with battles and combat. Just then, Evine appeared and jumped on Arian, hugging her. She said, "You've grown so much. I heard you rescued many of our kin. You must be stronger now." Ariane replied, "Not yet. I still have a long way to reach your level." Then she asked, "Are you really planning to get married?" Evine said excitedly, "Yes." "Are you afraid your dear sister will be taken by someone else?" Ariane asked who the man was that managed to change her mind, and Evine answered, "Someone serious and truly sincere." Meanwhile, the sun had set, and Ark stood panting heavily from all the fighting. Yet he tried again, charging at Glennis. He used dimensional movement and appeared behind her, but before he could strike, she hit him first, knocking him to the ground. She then said, "It's getting late, I need to go prepare dinner before Dylan and Ariane return." That night, they all gathered for dinner. Dylan told Arg that the council requested information about the people whose names appeared in the slave trade contracts and also instructed them to continue the rescue missions. "We don't have much to pay you, and you already have far more money than we do, so how about I give you some information instead?" Ark looked curious and asked, "What kind of information?" Dylan replied, "Something that might help you lift your curse." Ark paid close attention as Dylan continued, "There's a spring near the being called Lord Targa that can break any curse." Ark asked, "Who is Lord Targa?" Dylan replied, "He the highest among all dragons in our world. In the place where the Dragon Lord lives, there grows a rare, gigantic tree called Lord Targa. It is inhabited by spirits and its wood and leaves are very valuable." Arian added, "But there's a high chance the Dragon Lord might appear himself. And if the spirits are angered, you won't come out unharmed." Ark said, "I understand, but is there a chance I can leave safely from that place?" Ariane replied, "It would be very dangerous for a human to enter, but if we elves request permission, they'll allow it, so I'll go with you." Dylan asked, "Is that information enough as your reward?" Ark replied, "Yes," and thought to himself, curse removal was just a setting I added when I made this character in the game. But this has become something much bigger. Dylan asked again, "So will you lend your strength to the elves?" Ark replied enthusiastically, "Of course. And thank you for this useful information." After dinner, Ark went to his room to sleep and wondered if the skeleton body was truly a curse or just the form of his character. He thought about trying his own curse removal skill on himself, doubting it would even work. Suddenly it did, and his right hand turned human again, and he screamed at the top of his lungs. But strangely, his body turned back into a skeleton again, so he tried a second and third time, but nothing worked. It seemed he would have to go to the spring Dylan had mentioned, as he was now sure it truly was a curse. The next day, Ark and Ariane began their journey toward Olaf, the capital of the Kingdom of Roden. As soon as they left the elves' forest, they encountered a swarm of giant insects chasing Ark, who clearly had a deep fear of bugs. That night, they stopped at a restaurant to eat. Ariane opened her map and explained that normally, to reach the capital, travelers would circle around the forest by carriage. But since they were walking, they could shorten the route by cutting through it. A waitress came over and warned them not to go through the forest because it was dangerous right now. Ark asked, "Why now?" She replied, "Demonic beasts have been appearing there and attacked 10 people." Ariane asked, "Do they appear often?" The waitress said, "No, this never happened before, but just avoid the forest." Ark noticed the worry and sadness on Ariane's face and tried to reassure her, saying her kin would be fine and reach their destination quickly. She smiled and said, "You are right. A few wolves won't slow us down. We'll enter the forest tomorrow, as planned." The next day, in the capital, Yuriana and Verna boarded their carriage to head toward Limbold. Verna told her that only a few guards were coming, as she had ordered fewer than usual. "Are you in that much of a hurry, Your Highness?" Yuriana replied, "If we travel with a large group, we'll move slower, and we must reach Limbold as quickly as possible." At the same time, Ark and Ariane approached the area where the demonic beasts had been appearing. Ariane told him, "The tails of these wolves are made of white fur with glowing blue streaks. We elves use it to make shawls. It's a precious wedding gift for brides." She added that her sister was getting married soon and she wanted to make one for her, but then stopped herself and said, "Forget it, this isn't the time." Suddenly, they heard something approaching. One of the wolves she had just described jumped at Ark, who split it in half with his sword, but strangely, it vanished. Ariane told him it was an illusion, and then more wolves appeared, also illusions. One of them bit Ark's arm, and he remembered that possessed wolves acted in packs, creating illusions to distract their prey while the real one attacked. He continued slashing the mirages, while Ariane used powerful fire magic against them. Suddenly, faster wolves appeared behind her, so she used earth magic to summon sharp rocks that impaled them. Ark focused on her movements, trying to learn from her years of battle experience. Even as wolves bit at his head and shoulders, he shook them off and looked back to see the pack leader, recognizable by its many tails. He used dimensional movement to reach it and struck, but the wolf leapt high with incredible speed. Ark noticed the black and red bracelet on its leg, the same one he had seen on the giant lizard before. Quickly, he used dimensional movement again, but the wolf vanished and attacked from behind. Ark unleashed fire magic from his back, spun around, and sliced the bracelet from its leg. The wolf froze in shock, as if unaware of how it had come there, like it had been under a trance. Ariane arrived and asked what happened to the leader. Then they both saw the shattered bracelet on the ground, dissolving into smoke. Ariane recalled the giant lizard, and Ark said it was in a frenzy too, in a place it shouldn't have been. She asked, "Could that bracelet be the cause?" He replied, "I don't know." Ariane then asked for some time to collect the wolves' tails to make the shawl for her sister. Ark kindly understood and said, "Sure, let's take a break." She thanked him and happily ran off to gather them. Meanwhile, Yuriana was in the carriage, visibly anxious. Verna noticed and asked, "What bothering you?" Yuriana replied, "This time, my father was the one who sent me to Limbold. We're traveling in complete secrecy, but I have a bad feeling. My brother Dakaris is involved in the elf trade, and I doubt my brother Sect, who wants the throne, will stay quiet about it." Suddenly, the carriage hit something, and they heard the guards shouting, "We're under attack, Edge!" Verna rushed to protect Yuriana. At the same time, Ark was leaning against a tree, watching Ariane make the shawl, thinking about how he needed to improve his swordsmanship quickly, since it was vital for his journey. Suddenly, Ponta sensed something strange and dashed into the forest, prompting Ark to follow quickly. Elsewhere, Yuriana's carriage stopped, and Verna drew her dagger. The attackers opened the door, and Verna lunged at one, but was outsped and received a deep wound. Yuriana was horrified as tears filled her eyes. She ran to Verna, but the enemy leader struck her down with his sword. The commander ordered his men to make it look like bandits had done it. One of them handed him Yuriana's necklace, and he laughed mockingly. Suddenly, Ponta landed on one of the attackers' faces. The man grabbed him, but Ponta struggled furiously. The commander ordered, "Kill it." Just then, Ark arrived, grabbed the man's arm, crushed it, and took Ponta back. He looked at Yuriana and immediately sensed she was an important person. Her condition was critical and required special healing magic that would take time.
The attackers cast fire spells at him, but they had no effect on his fire-resistant armor. Then the possessed wolves appeared, attacking the enemies. Ark drew his sword and swiftly cut down many of them, forcing the rest to flee. The wolves' leader gave Ark a respectful nod before leaving. Ark then used his special healing spell, Regeneration, to heal the princess with difficulty until she began breathing again. He used the same spell on Verna and the remaining guards. Yuriana saw him briefly before fainting again, and Ark left before anyone could notice him, avoiding attention. A short while later, Yuriana awoke to Verna crying and calling her name. Verna said, "I woke up and found myself without a single wound. I don't understand what happened." Yuriana noticed her own torn and blood-stained clothes and remembered what she'd seen before losing consciousness. "It wasn't just a dream," she whispered. Gathering her courage, she gave a speech to encourage the soldiers to continue toward Limbold. Ark, hiding behind a tree, overheard her words and realized she was the princess of the very kingdom he and Ariane were traveling to. Later, he returned to Ariane, who had finished collecting the tails and was ready to make the shawl. She asked, "Where have you been all this time?" Ark replied, "There was a small problem, nothing serious." They set off again and continued their journey until they finally reached the capital, Olaf. Ariane was amazed by how lively the city was. Suddenly, they saw a man yelling at a girl he claimed had hit him. They looked closer and saw 3 men bullying her. Ark said she needs help. The girl suddenly struck all 3 men, sending them flying. And when she turned around, Ark was shocked to see she was the same ninja he had met before. She told him, "I want to talk with you for a bit, if you don't mind." Ariane asked Ark, "Who is she?" He replied, "There wasn't a chance to introduce her back during the attack on Dinto Castle, but she the one who gave me the elf trade contracts." Ark then asked for her name, and she replied, "My name is Chiome, and I'm one of the 6 ninjas of the Genjin clan," and suggested they speak somewhere safer.
She took them to the inn where she was staying. Ark was very excited, realizing he had been right. She really was a ninja. He properly reintroduced himself, and Ariane did the same. Then Chiome asked Ark, "Why did you call me ninja the first time we met?" Ark thought to himself, "Because no matter how I look at her, she looks exactly like a ninja." But of course, that answer won't satisfy her. He said aloud, "In my homeland, we call secret agents who dress like you ninja." Chiome explained that the word ninja was actually a secret title known only within her clan. Ariane then asked, "So what did you come here to talk to Ark about?" Chiome looked down sadly, and Ark remembered she had been searching for something alone inside the castle, risking herself for it. Nervously clenching her hands, Chiome asked, "Ark, can you help me rescue my beastman friends?" Ark thought to himself, "Just as I expected. Considering how humans treat elves, I can easily imagine how they treat beastmen." Chiome and Ariane are very much alike. Chiome continued, "You're already searching for the people whose names are listed in the contract. I can tell you where they are in exchange." Ark said, "I'm helping Ariane right now," and thought to himself, even if she a skilled ninja, she's still just a child. I want to make her happy and help her. He looked at Ariane and asked, "What do you think?" Ariane asked Chiome, "So you trained from a young age just to save your friends?" Chiome nodded, "Yes, I trained hard to become strong enough to rescue them." Ariane understood she was just like her and said, "I don't mind helping you. So what should we do now?" Meanwhile, in the royal palace, specifically in Dakara's chamber, he was furious with his subordinates after hearing that the wolves they had sent were no longer following orders. One of them, named Satorian, said, "I believe someone broke the bracelet." Dakara's grew even angrier, because that meant Yuriana was still alive. Satorian added, "We still haven't located her as if she's hiding her present." The search continues. Dakara said, "If I let her reach the elves for negotiation, it'll cause serious problems." Satorian responded, "Since the incident with Marchiodinto, restrictions on elf and beastman trade have become extremely strict." Dakara slammed his fist on the table and shouted, "My trade business is in danger. Did you find anything about those who attacked Dinto?" Satorian replied, "There are rumors that an elf was responsible, but nothing is confirmed yet. In the end, whoever did it will come here." Dakaris asked nervously, "You mean to kill me?" Satorian said, "Yes." Dakaris grew more agitated and barked, "Do something. Fix this." Satorian told him about a hidden safe house that no one knew about and advised him to hide there for a while. Dakaris immediately left for the location he mentioned. Meanwhile, Chiome led Ark and Ariane to the largest slave trader in the capital, a company called Itsat. They observed it from a distant ridge, and Chiome said, "We're going to attack that place." Inside the building, beastmen were imprisoned in the basement, just like the elves had been before. Some of Dakaris' guards stood before them, saying, "The goods will be shipped in the morning. Dakaris will be very pleased with our work." Chiome told Ark and Ariane, "Itsat has strong ties to the government. If the guards are attacked, reinforcements will arrive instantly. Even the royal army might move." Ariane asked, "Does that mean escaping will be difficult?" Chiome replied, "Yes, and that's why you two must leave as soon as the chaos begins. Just like we planned. We can't save everyone who storms the place or those who free the captives." Ark realized she meant their attack would be a distraction. Chiome continued, "At the same time, my comrades will attack the other 4 major slave traders in the capital." Ark asked, "So you're drawing attention to the largest company to rescue the rest?" Ariane looked upset at the idea. Chiome answered, "Yes, we can't save everyone, but if we have to sacrifice 10 lives to save 100, we'll do it. With you two on our side, we can reduce the casualties." Ark agreed and said, "We'll fight with you until the end." Chiome objected, saying she didn't want them risking themselves for her, but Ark reassured her, saying he could use instant teleportation. Both Chiome and Ariane were surprised. Ariane said, "If Ark uses that technique, we can drastically cut the losses." Chiome became excited and said, "I'll inform the others," then jumped down from the ridge, shouting, "The attack begins tonight. Be ready if an." Ark and Ariane went to an inn to eat before the battle started. Later, they waited for Chiome in the forest, and Ark wore a strange mask as a disguise, but Ariane teased him because it looked terrible. When Chiome arrived, she mocked his mask too. She was accompanied by one of the 6 ninjas named Gomeiman, whom she introduced to them. Suddenly, Gomeiman stepped close to Ark and stared at him oddly. Ark grew tense, and out of nowhere, the two charged at each other, clashing fiercely before laughing and shaking hands, praising each other's strength. Ariane and Chiome didn't quite understand what just happened, but the important thing was that the two got along instantly. Then they moved to their assigned positions as planned to begin the assault. Ark and Goman advanced first toward the guards at the gate. The guards grew nervous and terrified at the sight of their massive figures. Suddenly, Goman used earth magic, gathering sharp rocks across his shoulders, and both he and Ark charged at the gate like raging bulls, smashing it open. Panic spread among the guards as fear filled their faces. Hearing the commotion outside, Chiome and Ariane moved in. The guards rushed to attack Ark and Goemon, who began mowing them down with overwhelming strength. Goemon surrounded his body with an earthen shield so tough that swords and spears shattered upon touching it. The guards' fear intensified. Ark got excited and used earth magic himself, hurling giant boulders at them. The guards called for reinforcements, and Ark let out a dark, thunderous laugh that sent chills down their spines. Then Goemon slammed his fist into the ground with full force, cracking the earth and summoning sharp stone spikes. Ark grew even more fired up, as if it were a competition, and used a technique similar to Goemon. Their powers combined, and amplified wildly, creating massive spikes that erupted through the surrounding buildings. On the other side, Ariane and Chiome saw the chaos from atop the wall. Ariane sighed and said, "That idiotic skeleton has gone way too far," before they both leapt down from the wall and rushed inside the mansion. At the same time, news of the attack reached Dakaris, and he grew furious, shouting at Satorian, "Send more reinforcements immediately! I can't afford to lose another source of funding!" Meanwhile, Chiome and Ariane moved swiftly and, just as planned, found no guards following them since all had gone after Ark and Gomon. They quickened their pace, and when they reached the door, Ariane asked, "Should we destroy it with magic?" Chiome replied, "No need," and used her ninja skills to unlock it effortlessly. They ran through the corridors, away from the soldiers rushing outside. Suddenly, Ponti stopped and growled angrily. Chiome halted and saw guards approaching from behind. She summoned water and shaped it into two wolves that instantly tore through the guards. Ariane was amazed by her ninja abilities. A second wave of soldiers appeared, and Ariane used her flaming sword to incinerate them all at once. They reached the basement where Chiome revealed her identity. The prisoners were overjoyed and she freed them, telling those who could fight to take weapons from the fallen guards. More soldiers appeared, but Ariane dealt with them and told Chiome, "Focus on freeing the captives." At the same time, Ark emerged from the rubble he had created, then looked for Gomemon, who also crawled out moments later. Ark surveyed the area and saw no living guards. "Let's join Ariane and Chiome," he said. But just then Chiome appeared and told them the mission finished. Ark asked about the beastmen, and she replied, "They're all gathered in the courtyard. There's just one more building left to clear." Ark said, "Then let finish quickly before reinforcements arrive." Ark went with Chiome and Ariane, while Gomon stayed behind to face the incoming soldiers. Ark and the others swiftly took down the guards in their path, descended to the basement, and opened the cells. The captives wept with joy after their long suffering. Chiome reached one cell that smelled terrible. She cautiously opened it and lifted the cover, only to find the bodies of sick beastmen who had died, dumped there because the traders deemed them unsellable. Chiome clenched her fists in grief and whispered, "I'm sorry, I was too late." Ark suppressed his anger and said, "We have to get out of here. Now." Reinforcements had already arrived, and Gomon fought them with earth magic. Hearing the sounds of battle outside, Ark used instant teleportation to take everyone to the forest, transporting the freed captives in several groups due to their large number. Then he decided to return to finish things completely. "You did well holding them off," Ark said to Gomon. The soldiers were startled when Ark suddenly appeared and grew terrified, but shouted, "Kill them!" Ark and Goemon repeated their joint earth magic from before, sending sharp rocks bursting from the ground all around. Ark then took Goemon and returned to the others. Ariane burned the bodies of the dead beastmen in a sorrowful scene. Chiome, filled with guilt and resolve, vowed, "I'll become stronger. I'll never let any of them die or suffer like this again." Meanwhile, Dakaris demanded angrily, "What happened to Aitzot Company? Why haven't I heard any reports?" Satorian answered, "Even the royal army is in disarray." Dakaris slammed his fist down, shouting, "Then I'll go see for myself." As he passed Satorian, the latter calmly said, "There's no need for you to worry about this matter." Dakaris turned, frowning. "What do you mean by that?" he barked. In that instant, a dagger plunged into his heart. Satorian looked at him with a cold, sinister gaze. Dakaris choked out his final words. "Why did you do this?" Moments later, Prince Sect entered the room and said, "You've done well, Satorian." The assassin bowed slightly. "At your command, my prince. I heard the beastmen would attack tonight, so I took advantage of the chaos." Sect smirked. "A perfect opportunity." Satorian added, "Even Princess Yuriana, everything went as we planned, though we lost many men to the wolves in that mysterious night. I still have her necklace as proof." He handed it over, and Sek said coldly, "Excellent. I'll announce that Yuriana was killed by Dakaris. That way, everything will be settled, and the throne will be mine." At the same time, Chiome and Gomon met Ark and Ariane to say their farewells. Gomon suddenly lunged at Ark the same way he had when they first met. They grappled for a moment, then laughed together, praising each other's incredible fighting skills. The next day, they all took a boat ride along the river. Chiome thanked them again for their help and said that she and Goemon would return to their mountain village. "Now it's time," she said, "to tell you the information I promised." Meanwhile, Princess Yuriana arrived in Limbolt. As soon as she stepped out of the carriage, she saw her elder sister waiting and ran to embrace her. Her sister said, "My heart nearly stopped when I heard you were killed by Dakwars Azagi." Yuriana was shocked and asked, "What do you mean?" They went inside the palace and shared everything they knew. Her sister revealed that Dakaris, the one responsible for all the chaos in Olaf, was dead. Yuriana and Verna were stunned, and Yuriana realized that the one holding power now was her brother Sect. Then Yuriana asked, "Why did you all think I was dead?" Her sister replied, "Because they found your necklace with him." Verna added, "The same necklace you dropped during the attack." Yuriana thought to herself that Sect might have been behind everything. She asked her sister to keep her survival a secret and said, "What matters now is completing my mission and negotiating with the elves for the sake of their future." Meanwhile, Ark and Ariane were in the forest. Ariane sent her whispering bird to Danka to report everything that had happened, as things were growing much larger than she had expected. They walked together, recalling how Chiome had told them that the people listed in the trade contracts were from the Eastern Empire of Revlun. They both wondered what kind of place it was. Ark remembered Ariane's expression when she heard that name and decided they should head there quickly. At the same time, in the royal capital of the Revlun Empire, one of King Domitianus' aides reported, "Prince Dakaros is dead." The king asked, "And what of Princess Yuriana?" The aide replied, "She dead as well." The king smiled and said, "Good. Everything is going as planned." The aide added nervously, "No, sire. Someone destroyed the seal before the plan began, and the wolves were of no use. The princess was killed by an unknown person." The king frowned, realizing Sect might have been behind it, framing his brother Dakaris. "And what of Fumba?" he asked. The aide answered excitedly, "The plan to destroy the nations proceeds exactly as we intended." Ark and Ariane arrived at a vast desert, specifically an area filled with countless flying dragons, which was an extremely rare sight. Ariane told him, "This will be a big problem for us. We won't be able to continue." But Ark got excited and said, "Then let's just drive them away." He jumped off the cliff, landing hard enough to shake the ground, and used extremely advanced magic that gathered the clouds and summoned lightning to strike all the dragons at once. The dragons fled, but Ark hadn't noticed that he also electrocuted Ariane and Punta. When he returned, he couldn't understand why they were lying on the ground injured. Someone watching from a high spot saw what happened, wrote notes in a small journal, and said to himself, "Interesting." After Ariane recovered, they went to the nearest cafe. She told Ark, "Next time, warn me before you use dangerous magic like that." Ark apologized, saying he didn't realize how strong its effect was. Then, Ariane unfolded a map and showed him the route they would take to reach the Empire. Ark noticed something was bothering her and asked, "You've been upset ever since Chiome mentioned the Empire. You don't want to go there, do you?" She replied, "Yes, because unlike the Kingdom of Roden, the Empire doesn't forbid the capture of elves. My presence there will be dangerous, and it's stressing me out." Just then, the man who had seen them in the desert that morning interrupted and asked Ark, "Are you the one who used that great magic?" Ark replied cautiously, "Who are you?" The man introduced himself, "My name is Karsi." Before he could continue, Ariane quickly put something on his head and scolded him. What kind of elf shows his ears so openly in front of humans? Suddenly, the cafe owner approached kindly and asked Karsi, "Would you like your usual order?" He answered yes, which shocked Ariane even more, and to her surprise, the other humans in the cafe greeted him cheerfully and invited him to drink with them. Ariane asked in disbelief, "What going on here?" Karsi smiled and said, "This town suits me well. Everyone here is used to me. I've been living here for 10 years. Ariane was astonished and asked, "How did you live among humans for that long?" Karsi asked, "You're a dark elf, aren't you?" She nodded, and he continued, "I don't know how to explain it, but I believe humans and elves should work together. That the kind of world we should live in." Ariane, growing angry, said, "Don't you know what humans have done to us elves?" Karsi replied, "You're right, and I agree with you. But even you, a dark elf, are walking with a human in armor and a spirit beast." Ariane calmed down and said, "Ark is a special case." Ark, getting impatient with the conversation, interrupted and asked, "What do you want from us?" Karsi explained that he had been researching the bodies of demonic beasts and was currently facing trouble with a specific one. Ark asked, "So you want us to help you catch it?" When Karsi confirmed and said he wanted it brought back even as a corpse, Ariane apologized, "Sorry, but we're already on another mission." Karsi then pulled out a scroll and said, "But I have something you'll need. A map of the Revlun Empire." Ariane was shocked that he had been eavesdropping on them, while Ark said, "Either way, we'll need that map." Karsi also brought out a bestiary of demonic beasts that he had written himself. Ark's eyes sparkled with excitement as he said to Ariane, "I want that." She sighed and agreed, and Karsi told them to meet him the next morning at the main gate. The next day, they met him there as promised. He was accompanied by a friend and 2 wagons, and they all climbed aboard. Ark noticed the back wagon was covered and asked about it. Karsi replied, "Those are corpses of Afarans. I'll use them to lure the giant worm we're going to hunt." Ark asked him to share some details about it. Karsi explained, "It about 4 to 5 meters long, stays underground during the day, and comes out at night looking for corpses. By the way, it hates fire, so avoid using any fire-based magic. Recently, I've noticed it tends to stay near areas where flying dragons gather." Ark thought it might have been near them when he electrocuted all the dragons. Karsi continued, "If today's investigation helps us understand how it lives, we can reduce casualties greatly. That's why I study demonic beasts." Ark was amazed and began asking detailed questions about them, and they talked enthusiastically. Suddenly, Ariane noticed the 2 wagons behind them had disappeared. Moments later, the ground burst open. The worm appeared, and it was over 30 meters long, not 4 or 5. Karsi shouted, "I've never seen one this big before." Ariane spotted Karsi's friend on the ground. right under the creature and in danger. She sprinted forward and struck the worm with her flaming sword, but it had no effect. She was shocked. Fire was supposed to be its weakness, just as Carsey had said. The worm lunged down with its massive jaws, but Ark blocked it just in time before it could reach Ariane. "Leave the rest to me," he told her firmly. "Get Carsey friend and head to the wagon." Once he confirmed that the others were safe and away, Ark lifted the enormous worm with all his strength and flipped it onto its back. On its body, he noticed a bracelet like the one that had been on the wolf leader leg, and it shattered. Carsey was overjoyed and handed Ark the promised reward. Before leaving, Ariane looked troubled and asked, "Why do you live among humans?" Carsey simply replied, "Because I love them. I can't deny that when I lived in the elf village, I thought humans were terrible creatures. But after living with them, I realized they're not all the same. I have hope that someday, humans and elves will live together peacefully." Ariane looked down sadly and asked, "Will a future like that really come?" Carsey asked in surprise. "Haven't you heard the story of Limbolt, the port city in Western Roden?" Ariane shook her head. "No. What story?" He said, "I recently learned that the city governor married an elf." Ariane grabbed his clothes in shock. "How? Was she threatened?" Carsey replied, "No. The governor saved her when she was about to be sold as a slave, and she fell in love with him. They married, and both said they wanted to improve relations between humans and elves." Later, Ariane and Ark continued on their journey. On the road, Ariane asked, "Do you think a future like that will really come?" Ark replied, "Who knows? Humans and elves think differently, but maybe there are some whose hearts are alike. One day, they might truly cooperate, just like us." Meanwhile, deep underground in the base of a man named Fumba, who was clearly working for the Empire, an Imperial guard stood before him angrily and said, "We've heard that many people have gone missing lately. You're going too far with your actions." Fumba arrogantly replied, "Don't complain. You're the ones who asked for my help." The guard sighed and asked, "So what about the plan to destroy the nation?" Fumba laughed mockingly and said, "Come with me." He led the guard to a place with a massive, deep pit. From inside came the terrifying roar of a huge creature. Suddenly, Fumba asked the beast, "Are you hungry?" and threw a girl down for it to eat. The other girl screamed in horror, and even the Imperial guard froze in fear as the creature devoured her right in front of them. At the same time, Ark and Ariane arrived at a border nation near the Empire called Keswick. When they entered, they found it a noisy city filled with soldiers everywhere. Ark said, "If we move carelessly, we'll draw attention and get into trouble. Finding where the elves are imprisoned will be difficult." Ariane replied, "Then let's split up and gather as much information as we can. We'll meet again at sunset." They went around questioning various people, shop owners, ordinary citizens walking through the streets, and even suspicious figures hiding in alleyways. By sunset, Ark sat down eating with Ponta and said, "It's strange. Heavy guard presence, wailing sounds coming from the western fortress, monsters near the city borders, and people disappearing every day according to what we've learned." Suddenly, they heard a scream from one of the alleys. It was the girl who had escaped from Bulma hideout, now being chased by his men. As usual, Ark intervened, grabbing one thug arm and breaking it before knocking down the rest. He then made sure the terrified girl was safe. Ariane appeared, and Ark quickly explained what had happened. That night, inside Bulma hideout, a massive beast, resembling a white tiger, sat with control bracelets on its ears. Below it, his men knelt, trembling because they had failed to capture the girl. Bulma sneered, "Since you didn't bring food for my pet, you'll be the food instead." Meanwhile, Ark and Ariane stood at a distance, watching a fortress that Ariane had learned was where the elves had been imprisoned for 4 months. Ark said 4 months is a long time. We should consider the worst possibility, that they're not alive. Ariane replied, "Maybe, but I'd rather bet on them still being alive." The two of them moved toward the fortress, sneaking in quietly without alerting the guards. Inside, it was eerily silent. They reached a wall, and Ariane said, "According to what I found out, there's a secret door here." She pressed her hand on the wall, and it opened. They descended the stairs, smelling the stench of monsters, and saw 2 guards in front of a door. Each of them dealt with one swiftly. Then Ark opened the door, and they entered. Inside were cells filled with skeletons and nothing else. On the floor, Ark noticed fur and said, "I hope that belonged to an animal." Then Ponta called them over to another door. Ark opened it, and they stepped into a dark, eerie chamber full of stone pillars. Ark suddenly smelled blood, and then Fumba appeared before them, annoyed by the noise his beasts were making. "Who are you?" he asked coldly. Ark didn't answer and told Ariane stay back. Suddenly, Ariane drew her sword and struck Ark's shield. "You missed your target," he said in confusion. Fumba smirked. "No, she didn't." Ark growled, "What did you do to her?" Fumba replied mockingly, "Don't take your eyes off her." Ariane suddenly grabbed Ark's arm and threw him to the ground. When Fumba saw her elf ears, his excitement grew. "A dark elf kill him now." Ark realized she was under some kind of curse and immediately used his dispel magic skill, breaking the spell momentarily, but she quickly lost consciousness again and attacked him. Inside a strange dream, Ariane saw her sister Avon calling her, "Come train with me, you're too weak, you'll never save anyone like this. Weakness is evil, you must become stronger. Then, you can protect everyone from the humans who trample us elves." Avon drew her sword and lunged at her. At the same time, Ariane drew her sword in reality and attacked Ark. He parried her blows while stepping back, using his dispel magic on her twice, but it didn't work. He glanced at Bulma, who stood still, smiling without chanting any spells. Ark was puzzled. How was the curse renewing itself? Then he noticed a red eye glowing on Ariane's cloak. Realizing the truth, he ordered Ponta to jump into the cloak. The spirit beast pulled out a small creature, and Ark burned it instantly with fire magic. Ariane collapsed unconscious. Bulma laughed. "You're quite cruel. That thing you burned was one of my pets." Ark recognized it. An imp, he said. "You had it show her illusions?" Bulma grinned. "Impressive guess. Let me reward you with some information. I am the master of demonic beasts. I can control them, as you've seen." Ark noticed the same kind of bracelets on Bulma's side, the same ones that had been on the monsters he'd fought before. He understood now. Bulma then summoned his massive white tiger, Hixtuern. Ark laid Ariane gently against the wall and asked coldly, 4 months ago you brought a group of elves here. Where are they?" Bulma smirked. "They're gone. The Empire used most of them for magical experiments. Don't worry, I took good care of the rest. The last one kept shouting she'd kill me until my pet ate her arms and legs." In an instant, Ark decapitated the beast with a single strike. Gripping his sword tightly in anger, he said, "I've seen a lot since I came here, and I managed to stay calm, but because of you, I'm beyond furious." Bulma laughed. "Don't get too full of yourself just because you killed one. There are plenty more." Suddenly, huge monsters appeared around them. Ark said confidently, "That number not enough to defeat me." Bulma shouted for them to attack, and Ark charged in, slicing them down one by one. Smashing one creature against a pillar and slicing the neck of a lizard that tried to grab him. Trying to regain control, Bulma sneered, "But your friend in danger." Ark turned and saw a monster lunging toward Ariane, but at that moment, Chiome appeared and trapped it in a prison of water until it suffocated. Bulma tried to summon more beasts, but Chiome said, "Don't bother, we already killed all of them." Furious, Bulma clenched his fists. He had spent years raising those monsters. Ark asked in surprise, "What are you doing here?" Chiome replied, "Didn't Ariane tell you I'd come?" He said, "No, she didn't get the chance." Suddenly, the ground began to shake violently. Bulma grinned wildly. "Finally it awake. It must be starving." He ran off quickly before the place collapsed. Ark grabbed Ariane and escaped using teleportation. Suddenly, from the rubble in front of them, a monster with 5 snake heads emerged. A creature of extremely high rank, with regeneration and great resistance to water magic. Chiome said, "That the nation destroyer we've heard about so many times. Who would believe a mere human could control something like that?" Ark noticed several bracelets embedded in its abdomen. The monster spotted them and fired powerful magical beams, and Bulma laughed mockingly, assuming they were dead. He remembered when he once stood before the elders of his village, shouting angrily, "Why won't you acknowledge me?" "I'm the strongest in this village," Edlinji replied. "Because you're weak, you seek only superficial strength. How can we accept someone who can't control himself?" Later, he stood before Emperor Domitianus where the king aide, Philometheus, scolded him. "A lowly man like you has no right to look upon the emperor that way." Domitianus silenced his aide and said, "Fumba, you're an interesting man. I won't ask about your status or nobility, as long as you're useful to me." Fumba now looked at the Hydra and said proudly, "As long as I control this creature, I'm the strongest person in the world. Everyone who ever looked down on me will regret it." The Hydra began moving toward the city to destroy it completely, an act of betrayal against Domitianus. Meanwhile, Ark and the others reappeared in a distant place. "Luckily, the shield activated just in time," he said. Chiome replied, "It's hard to believe you blocked a city-destroying attack with just your shield." Suddenly, Ark realized Ariane was missing and called out to her. He found her standing on a rock behind him, facing away, speaking calmly yet with deep anger. "I wasn't unconscious. I just couldn't move because of that illusion. I heard everything he said. Let's find him and make him regret everything he'd done." Chiome said, "I agree, but that monster is extremely dangerous." Ark replied confidently, "It's hard to deal with tornadoes and earthquakes, but that thing? Easy." Ariane smiled and said, "I trust you." Meanwhile, Thilmoas reported to Emperor Domitianus that the Hydra was growing as planned and would soon be ready for real combat. The Emperor was pleased with the news. Thilmoas continued, "The employee ring we crafted after analyzing Fumba powers is nearly complete, but we still need him to control the Hydra." Domitianus replied, "You're right. I think it's time we decide what to do with him." At the same time, the city guards noticed the Hydra approaching. The captain ordered his men, evacuate the civilians to the northern district and seal the gates once the troops move out to fight. Ak stood before the monster and launched a powerful magical attack. It annoyed the Hydra, but didn't wound it. All 5 heads lunged at him, but Ark ran up its body, struck it hard with his shield, teleported into the air and smashed one of its heads into the ground with his fist. Fumba grew terrified, realizing Ark had survived the Hydra previous blast. The creature gathered immense energy in 3 of its heads and fired it toward Ark. He teleported to dodge, but one of the heads bit him, while the others aimed their attacks. Ark realized the Hydra intended to sacrifice one head to destroy him. He raised his shield, absorbing the impact and dispersing the energy away from him. Then, he used one of his advanced sword techniques. A massive lightning blade descended from the sky, slicing off 3 heads at once. But his victory was short-lived. The heads regenerated instantly, as expected of a beast whose name was carved into history. Ark teleported away and decided to use a skill he hadn't tried since coming to this world, the summoning of a gigantic, flame-covered demon. Ariane and Chiome watched in awe as the terrifying infernal creature stood before the Hydra. Suddenly, Ponta darted off in another direction, and they hurried after him. Fumba grew anxious, staring at the summoned monster. A fire blast from Ariane's sword flew past him, forcing him to dodge. "Why did you come here?" he shouted. She answered, "To kill you, obviously." Fumba sneered. "You're strong, I'll admit, but don't overestimate yourself. You haven't seen what the Hydra can really do." Ariane said firmly, "You're right, the Hydra power is absurd, but it's not yours. You're weak," Fumba screamed. "Weak? I control it," Ariane replied. "Exactly because you're weak. You hide behind a monster like that to boast about your power. You trample others to cover your own weakness." Fumba froze. It was the same thing the village elders had once told him. He grew enraged. Ariane continued, "A truly strong person uses their strength to protect the weak." Fumba furiously pulled his reins, but Ariane lunged forward, sword drawn. He tried to summon his illusion beasts, but she cut them all down instantly. "I'm not foolish enough to fall for the same trick twice," she said coldly. Chiome threw several knives, cutting his back open. Strange glowing marks appeared and stopped moving. "Just as I thought," she said. "You control beasts through those complex symbols engraved on your body, but your weakness is, if they're damaged, your control ends." Fumba panicked. "Then I'm not controlling it anymore. I'm not responsible for what it does now," Ariane said with confidence. "Ark will stop it." She ignited her sword, burning the reins in his hand. Terrified, Fumba shouted, "I had nothing to do with this. I was just following the Emperor orders." "I'm sorry about the elves now, heir," Ariane replied coldly, then apologized to the dead, and the flames on her sword turned blue, consuming him completely. Ark summoned demon lunged at the Hydra, slicing off its heads and punching it hard enough to send it flying. The Hydra tried to flee, but Ark grabbed its tail, spun it around, and threw it into the sky. The demon charged immense flames in its mouth and unleashed a massive blast, obliterating the creature. When the sun rose, Ark returned to Ariane and Chiome. "Are you both all right?" he asked. Ariane smiled. "Yes, thanks to you." They asked about his demon, and Ark said, "It's an infernal creature I summoned from the underworld. It'll disappear in a minute." Then a whispering bird arrived with a message from Danka, informing Ariane that Princess Uriana had held a meeting with the Elder Fangas. Meanwhile, Elder Fangas asked Uriana, "So the Kingdom of Rodan will take full responsibility for what happened and return the remaining captives?" Uriana replied, "Yes, we violated the ancient treaty and oppressed the elves. We must make amends." Fangas nodded. "Agreed, though I sense you have another goal." Uriana said, "I do. My brother Prince Sect has allied with the Revloon Empire for support, and my late brother Dakaris did the same. That empire, both east and west, oppresses other races. If someone supported by them takes the throne, the elves will suffer again." Fangas said, "I see. You want to stop that by taking the throne yourself, and you want our support to do it." She replied, "Yes. In return, if anyone threatens the elves, I'll stand by your side." Fangas smiled. "I admire your vision of cooperation between humans and elves. It's what I've always hoped for. I accept." Uriana extended her hand and said, "A future where humans and elves work together has already begun. The governor marriage to an elf proves it." Fangas replied, "Then I believe we'll be excellent neighbors," and shook her hand. Meanwhile, Ark asked Ariane, "You're still uncertain about Danka message, aren't you? I know it's strange that he asked you to stop searching for the captives." Ariane replied, "It really surprised me, but honestly, I'm glad the Kingdom of Rodan acted and wants an alliance with us." She reminded him of what Karsi had said before, adding, "Back then, I thought such a future was impossible, but it happened far sooner than I ever imagined." At the same time, in the Kingdom of Rodan, Sect received news that Uriana was alive and had succeeded in forming an alliance with the elves. In the Empire, Domitianus learned that Fumba was dead and said calmly, "No matter. What important is that we've managed to create the ring that will grant us his power."